This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, 26th of September 2024, 9:25 in the morning. Our weather is not holding so great, but not bad at all. 76 now, high of 92, which is borderline manageable. Tomorrow, the same, but we're getting lows in the 60s at night. Saturday, the same. But the low Saturday's down to 67. Then Sunday we get relief again, high 88, then 88 again, and then we go down to 84, 83, and I don't see us going back up again. So maybe it's going to be over, this heat. It's horrible weather in Israel for most of Israel. People don't know that. The weather is simply miserable in most of Israel, okay? It's hot and dry for about 7 months of the year, and the other 5 months it's cold, damp, wet, and rainy. I would call it punishment weather, but I've looked at the New Testament and it doesn't seem to me like they got the same weather back then. But I don't know. I mean, we don't hear about them walking around wearing foot protection for snow, do we? But Jerusalem takes snow. I was there. We had waist high snow many years ago. I mean, so I don't quite know. I'm not an authority on the subject, but it seems to me our weather is worse than it was in the New Testament days. That's my opinion. I don't know how they could gather in the Galilee and listen to Yeshua when it's 103, 106 degrees, or even 99 degrees or something. I don't know. I just wonder about that. Okay, so I'm going to start by doing some praise, being an Old Testament, New Testament, Bible believing site. But I got some great news for you. Lots of war intel. Stay tuned here. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. So I'm going to jump into the chat, the live stream, whatever we should be calling it, and make sure we got sound and picture, and make sure people are coming in, they're getting notices, and it looks good. Let's see. We got sound and picture. Okay, I'm going to put some very fast, Chief, quiet. Chief, quiet. I'm going to be very quick here, guys. Uh, okay. I gotta put my email address up, which most channels don't do. But if you want to send in questions, prayer requests, thoughts requests, or comments, and you don't want to put it in the chat, you want to be more private, you could email it to me. Um, Chief, no. We're not eating. Okay, let's get into it. I guess the big news right now is a couple of days ago, Russian warplanes were flying close to Alaska. Not completely confirmed, but I believe it's true. Sirens even sounded in Alaska. That's what I'm hearing. I'm not sure. One of them was a bomber. Russian plane was a bomber. Okay? Alright. What else is new? Chief, no. No. About Monday, there was a flotilla of Russian and Chinese warships, a total of 9, headed across the Pacific in the north, and it's suspected highly that they're headed to Alaska. Now, let's calm down. If they're going to attack Alaska using 9 ships, it's, what would I say, is that possible? It is. Is it likely? Maybe. I don't know. Okay? But it's not a lot of ships, but Alaska's not that heavily militarily fortified. America recently moved some troops up there, but small amount, a few hundred. They didn't move like 20,000, you know. And I know they have aircraft up there, and they have warships and so forth. 2 American warships were sent, I think, from San Diego up there to meet the Russian-Chinese flotilla. Now, it's highly likely what's going on is this. The Russian warplanes were probing American defenses. They probably had an intelligence gathering aircraft, which I think they did, had an AWAC. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. So they were watching the response from America to the Russian planes. Apparently they did not fly into American airspace. They came close. Okay? And they were probably looking and listening for radar getting activated, anti-aircraft missile systems with radar getting activated so they could pinpoint the locations to take them out later. And they might have been looking at what bases or where the planes were going to be scrambled to meet them, and what planes they were, and what they could pick up from the planes with eavesdropping and spying from the AWAC. So that's more than likely what that was about. It was 3 or 4 planes, okay? The ships could be the same thing. If they send 1 or 2 ships, the Americans may not take it seriously. If they send 9, the Americans have to take it seriously, and they could, you know, observe what the American reaction would be, okay? So it's more likely, but not positive for sure, not for sure, more likely that this was a probe to study the Americans' countermove, because it would have to be sufficient enough to scare them. But on the other hand, you know, these ships could be launching all kinds of missiles, anti-ship missiles, surface-to-surface missiles. They could have anti-aircraft missile capability, and they probably have all of that. So that's an interesting idea. Maybe the Russian planes got the GPS locations of the vital areas for the American defense of Alaska, and the ships are coming out there to pelt them. I don't know. But America's taking it very seriously, and they're what people are calling in the mode for homeland defense, specifically in Alaska. Now, some of you know and some of you don't know that the daughter of Babylon is America, but it's generally accepted with most Bible students that it is, although I know the churches don't teach this. But it's very plain. In Jeremiah 50:51, it mentions the daughter of Babylon in two large chapters, and it specifies that it has mingled people. Well, why is America called a melting pot? It has mingled people. It says America is on many waters. Well, let's break that down. You've got Atlantic, Pacific, Gulf of Mexico. Then up at the north, you got the Great Lakes, which are like little seas or something. They're huge, right? And you've got 8,000 rivers, and you probably have about that many lakes. Now, the people that speak against America being the daughter of Babylon generally propose three cities, I guess you could say. One is Mecca, where the big holy site of the Muslims is. Mecca's in the desert, it's dry, it doesn't have mingled people at all, okay? And it's not on many waters, so you can write Mecca off. Medina is the number. Another one they put in place in Saudi Arabia, same problems, forget it, okay? Saudi Arabia is nothing like open immigration, you can forget all that, okay? Now then, the other theory is the Vatican. All right. Now, the Vatican has it talks about the Israelites leaving the daughter of Babylon and coming to Israel. Moving past, only 300 people live in the Vatican. And there's probably not a single Jew or Israelite there. America has 6.5 million known Israelites plus the lost tribes. So, which do you favor? You see, it says there are many waters. The Vatican's not on many waters. They got fountains, toilets, water fountains, bottles of holy water. They're not in there. So there's no fit, okay? There's just no fit for the Vatican, Mecca, or Medina. Some say it's just New York City or Washington, D.C. No, it's not. Because it mentions, referencing the daughter of Babylon, cities, plural. So it's not a city. Washington, D.C. is the District of Columbia. Now, some of you may not know who the heck Columbia is. I can very quickly show you in a way where you'll have no doubts that who this Columbia is, okay? It's Washington, D.C., but because it's called the District of Columbia. Now, you have to also understand that Washington, D.C. is not part of the United States as you would think it is. Okay? It's administered by the federal government, and it's not part of the 50 states. It's not part of Washington, D.C. Okay? So now the big question is, can we figure out who Columbia Motion Pictures uses as an icon? And we got it. Okay. It's a woman, apparently a flat-chested woman, makes me wonder about what's going on there, holding the light, come to the light, and put on a pedestal. On a pedestal. This is what's called a graven image or an idol, okay? And it's very difficult to determine if this really is a man or a woman, but it seems to indicate being a woman, but, you know. Now, that starts giving you a big key as to who the heck Columbia is when the capital is called District of Columbia. That's what Washington, D.C. means. Now, where do we see this in a very big way in America? Well, it's not going to be hard. Whoops, let me get a better picture for you. Something's not right. The Statue of Liberty is Columbia on a pedestal, holding the light, flat-chested, what appears to be a woman, okay, holding some sort of a book. I don't know what that is. Some Masonic book, I don't know. And those pillars you see, that's the sign of a Roman and a Greek temple. So this is a temple. This is to worship Columbia. That's what this is telling us. Now, where else do we see these pillars? Well, you see it in the White House. I'll show you. Some of you know this already. This is reminiscent, totally reminiscent of a Greek and Roman temple, and I'll show you that too. There's the White House with the pillars. See, it's like a demonic church or a shrine, okay? Now, I'm not done. I'm not going to go do a thorough discourse on this. I'm just going to touch on it so you get the idea. Here's a poor picture of the United States Supreme Court, and it has those pillars. Now wait, I'm not done. And I'm going to show you Greek and Roman temples in a moment. As a young guy, I had a summer job in this place once. It's the New York Stock Exchange on number 11 Wall Street. There's your pillars. You see, money is their god. That's just a shrine. And at the top it has a Typhium, which is that triangle, which has graven images in it, three-dimensional, as does the Supreme Court building. Now, what we'll do next is I'll show you the Greek and Roman temples. Here's one. You see the pillars, you see the triangular Typhium up at the top. That was a Greek temple I just showed you. Now I'll show you the preserved Greek temple of Hephaestus, which is some demonic critter. You can see in the front that triangular Typhium, whatever the heck it is, the triangular thing, and you can see the pillars. Okay? Now, let's go to a Roman temple. Here's the ruins of a Roman temple. You can see it's the same thing, the triangular piece in the front and the pillars. So they're worshiping and making shrines. Oh, it keeps falling out of my pocket. Hold on a second. They're worshiping and making shrines to some demonic deities. Now, some of you may not be completely convinced yet, so I will convince you further. Bad pictures. Let me get a good picture. I'm going to show you the Library of Congress and the fountains. And this is the Library of Congress fountain, the statue there. I believe it's Zeus, the god of the sea. But wait, I'll show you more pictures of it. That's the United States. It's Neptune. Sorry, it's not. It's Neptune. You could see, not easily, but you could see the other statues in Neptune around there. Same thing, Library of Congress. And see if I could get a better shot of it. I think I got one. Here's, you can see the Library of Congress, the building with the pillars as a shrine or temple to deities. And you see several of the statue graven images there of Neptune and his cohorts. Pretty interesting. I'm not done yet. I've done this a lot of times, so it's easy to go fast. Now I'm going to show you the statue on the top of the Capitol building. This is the top of the U.S. Capitol building. You can see the pillars, so it too is some sort of shrine or temple. And there's the woman, Columbia, the Statue of Liberty, right on the roof of the Capitol, reigning over them. This is a picture of this idiot, and it has a bird on its head, which is some sort of demonic thing. Okay? So when people run around and tell you that, America needs to repent, let me tell you something. The ultra left wing in America, or the left wing in America, and all the governments, these statues and these pillars are on many state capitals. It's not just the federal capital. If you look around, you'll find this in many state capitol buildings in America. Many, many, many of them. I don't have time to go through this, okay? And it's pretty serious. Now, let me read you the scripture for this. Jeremiah 50, verse 38. This is Daughter of Babylon passages. A drought is upon, chapters actually, her drought is upon her waters, and they will be dried up, for it is a land of graven images, and the people go mad over their idols. They're mad upon their idols, is King James, okay? Now, if you still think that there's something wrong here, let me show you another one. I want to get a good picture of it. lot of these images in Google are kind of dumpy, you know? They don't have a lot of light and stuff. This is the Boy Scouts of America statue in Washington, D.C. We have a rather homely woman, if she is a woman, and you can see she's flat-chested. And we have a big, strong guy who's walking around with what's apparently his wife and his son. And this guy is walking around naked, except for a little piece of cloth over his privates. Now, does this sound like something your parents would do or your father would do? I mean, what is this promoting? Incest, pedophilia, what do you think it's promoting? You tell me if I'm wrong. The father naked, a homely woman, all covered up, flat-chested, and this kid in the Boy Scouts with his Boy Scout regalia on. So, you know, people got to wake up. If I didn't just wake you up now, I don't know what would wake you up, okay? I could get into stock certificates, bond certificates, money, what the images they put on American coins and currency in the past. It's demonic, demonic, demonic. So I hope I convince some of you, if not all, that America's really the daughter of Babylon, and it'd be pretty hard to kick against what I just told you. Is the dome in Alaska? I don't know. We can look. I'll look. I don't know what book. I don't know what you... Oh, the book the person's holding, the statue? No, I don't know. The red heifer's not been sacrificed or anything. They're not building any temple. No, they never sacrificed the red heifer yet. No, it hasn't happened. I lived here for many years. It hasn't happened. And there's no temple being built. That's not going on. Netanyahu wouldn't allow it. The ultra-Orthodox in Israel have two political parties. One is Shas, and the other one is United Torah Judaism. And they support Netanyahu. They have a total of approximately 15 votes in the Knesset, the parliament. It's a one-house parliament. And they support Netanyahu, and he gives them money from the government. And they don't teach the Bible very much. They teach the Torah, the Talmud, which is not the Bible. It's contradictory to the Bible. It says that Yeshua is not the Messiah. He's not the Son of God. He's a bastard. He's not a prophet. He never rose from the dead. That's what they study in Orthodox Judaism and all Judaism. If you put a New Testament in your house, you're bringing a curse on your house. Okay? That's it. That's what it's about. All right? That's the long and the short and the tall. And that's what they study. And that is bad news. All right, now and that's why you see in Zechariah 13, verse 8 and 9, 2/3 of Israel is going to get cut off, and the rest will be raised up. And then when you read Ezekiel 34, now I'm well aware that church doesn't usually talk about these things. And when you read Ezekiel 34, it talks about the bad shepherds of Israel getting cut off, and the fat cattle, which are the millionaires, the billionaires, the company and business owners, they're all serving the devil. Every country in this age has leaders that serve the devil. That's why it says Satan's the god of this age. But this age is about to close out. And I'm going to show you how to get a look at your Bible and get a rough idea when that's going to be. Not the day and the hour per se, but we'll get into that in a moment. Well, we got a lot of war intel to cover first, but Someone said Alaska. Okay, let's look at the Alaska Capitol building. Start there. And I have no idea if there's any statues there. But it shouldn't be hard to find it. I don't think we're going to get a hit here. I think it's just, let me get a good picture. Alaska State Capitol, Federal and Territorial Building. Well, that's something called the Federal and Territorial Building with the pillars, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking, whoops, we want to go after the Capitol. And let's see, the Capitol doesn't look that promising. See, it's funny looking building. It looks like it has the pillars all right, but it's it's like a big square building. And I don't see, oh, there looks like there's something on the roof. Let me get another picture of it. I don't think what I saw was a statue though. I might have seen a flag up there. I don't know. No, let me keep looking. No, I'm not seeing it there, sorry. It might be inside, they might have it in other buildings, the governor's mansion, I don't know. Okay, hang on a minute. Jeremiah 50 verse 26. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Now, the utmost part, it would need to be, I think, we could say a Hawaii, but Hawaii was basically a recent addition, I think, in 1959, and it's not attached to the rest of America. And it also says in another place they will come in from the north, okay, in Jeremiah 50 and 51. So the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, I would push them off like Hawaii. And Alaska is not actually completely adjacent to the United States, but it's attached to it via Canada. Okay? Now, there's something I need to tell you. Russia and Alaska are close. Russia in the past, of course, said he wants to take Alaska back. I think they sold it to America for a song 150, 200 years ago or something like that. And Alaska might get occupied by Russia and China. I don't know. And then they might build a base up there, and the Biden administration will do nothing. Okay? It could be. Okay? It may not be, but it could be. Leave your mind open. There's a straits area running from Russia. It's about 48 miles of water from Russia to Alaska. That's not a lot. Not at all. A ship normally is going to chug a warship at about 25 miles an hour, roughly, right? So you're talking 2-hour trip. an airplane, go 48 miles, I don't know, 2 minutes. That's it. 3 minutes. I mean, if it's going supersonic, seconds. I think it would be under a minute. So, this straits, this body of water, in the winter, not every winter, but some winters, it freezes. And you could go across it. You can walk. Could you drive vehicles? I don't know. No idea. I don't think I'd want to drive an 80,000-pound tank across it, but you never know. I have no idea. When does it start getting cold in Alaska? Oh, it started already. Do they have snow and frost in October? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Late August, it starts getting cold. They usually stop the cruises to Alaska at the very beginning of September at the latest because it's too cold. By the way, I took a lot of cruises when I was in the world years ago, but I never went to Alaska. The word I got is it's a stupid cruise. They take you around to little villages and you look at totem poles and stupid things like that, which is a demonic idol, by the way. And they, you get plagued with mosquitoes. The boats come close to the shore, depending how far off they are. If the boat's going to moor 3 or 4 miles in the water and run shuttlecraft to the shore, which are usually the lifeboats, I doubt the mosquitoes would come over there. Mosquitoes are not usually in the habit of flying a couple of miles out over an ocean because there's no place for them to set down, and they're not, long distance flyers, and they're not going to be able to find animals to get blood from over in the ocean, so that's not something they normally do. So I don't think on the boats you're going to have mosquitoes. If the boat hooks up to a pier, okay, that a pier attached to land, then you'll have all kinds of mosquitoes on the boat. And I think when it stops in the ports and the cities, it does do that. And people have complained that they're plagued with mosquitoes. And when you get on the land, now we're talking May, June, July, probably, maybe early August, In a lot of, places, your winter your fall sets in mid-August, Like, I was in Romania once, I don't know, mid or third week August or something like that. And it was wearing jackets and zipping it up and stuff. It was already getting cold. But Alaska, it's finished, They're in winter by now, or the beginning of winter. So now we have no way of knowing if that strait of water is going to freeze solid so they can run troops and equipment across. Who knows? Does it happen every year? No, not at all. Do they need that to come into Alaska? Heck no. They just start ferrying troops across. I mean, you got a 2-hour trip. So let's say it's 6 o'clock in the morning. They go to Alaska. They get there at 8. By 10:30, they're headed back to Russia, pick up another crew, and go back. And they can go 3-4 times a day, probably 3 times. Because there's more involved. There's refueling, there's offloading equipment, it's, confusion, talking to each other, that kind of thing. So, you could probably assume a trip to go there, come back and reload, it's probably 5 hours. So they'd probably do 2 trips a day, maybe a third trip if they could really get the hustle going and get it down to, 3 hours or something like that. They could traverse at night. Ships are basically running with spotlights to spot ice and running radar, and they could run at night. If they have to, they could also fly in. They could drop paratroopers. How would an invasion work? Well, it would be very confusing. Okay. First thing that would happen is Russia and or China would take out the radar systems in Alaska. That would be a problem because the American planes would be very interested in blowing their ships up. So that would be a serious test of how good the Russian air, ground to air, or surface to air defense missiles are, and I think they're not good enough. Okay? So ships would be lost, maybe planes, radar could be taken out by launching missiles and rockets off the ships at the radar. Okay? Russia would bring submarines with them. America would have submarines that would be trying to shoot each other's ships. America would have ships out there to meet them with anti-ship missiles, and Russia has them too. So essentially they're both going to get busted up, but I think in the final analysis, Russia would dominate with China, and North Korea would probably jump on some boats and put 100,000 soldiers up there with them, which would basically be a line of troops that would not be very valuable to China and Russia, and neither North Korea, and they could be, they're not going to worry about them getting busted up. But the idea is fend off the planes, stop the missiles from Alaska attacking the ships coming in, and deactivate the planes, destroy the runways, get the planes as much as they can. That's not easy. It's heavily dependent on how many planes America has there and of what caliber. They would for sure have F-35s. They probably would be scared about putting a American aircraft carrier up there because the Houthis in Yemen took out an American aircraft carrier. They got hits on it. So I don't think they would expose it. But the idea is get rid of the radar, get rid of the planes. The missiles don't work without the radar. Then the ships and whatever and planes start bombing a beachhead where they offload soldiers with equipment and establish a beachhead with a lot of protective cover from aircraft and ships at sea. And then they keep moving ships in, and then when they got a sufficient quantity, they start building warehouses for goods, food, medical, clothing, ammunition, missiles, blah, blah, blah. They start moving tanks, armored personnel carriers in, and, start building a facility, including hospitals, mess halls, and stuff. And then they start pushing in. The idea of dropping down through Canada would be child's play. Trudeau would come out and feed them and welcome them. He wouldn't fight against them. Trudeau and Macron are the biggest cowards you're ever going to see. Bullies and cowards at the same time. Bullies towards those they can push around, and cowards to those that could fight back. So Macron would probably just open up the doors, give them a celebratory greeting when they come into the cities, If Macron submits to Russia, chances are Russia wouldn't destroy them. Putin would say to himself, well, if these people want to submit to us and surrender, I'm an idiot if I destroy them. That's what Muslims might do. I'm an idiot. I'm going to take them in and be nice to them, then others will surrender. And they enter the United States. All these people talking to you about all this stuff now stopped talking to you about the sleeper agents in America. Why? Either they don't know any better, or they think they miraculously grew wings and flew away and went back to their home countries, or they don't want you to know. You tell me. Trump said there were, this is at least a month ago, said there was at least 20 million of these, well, I don't know the right word, illegals, migrants, people across the border without permission, illegally. 70% of those, it's rumored by practically everybody, that they, the 70% are military-aged males without wives and families. China, it's known, has up to 350,000 acres of land in America. It's hard to establish ownership because of shell companies offshore and whatever. And these these companies own land adjacent to American military bases. No, I have not heard of any FBI Homeland Security raids on these Chinese land to see what's going on there. Why? Oh, it's obvious. Oh, Biden's not interested in doing anything about them, is he? 2 cities in Maine very recently, last few days, are getting overwhelmed with illegal migrants or people that came in illegally and filed for refuge in the United States. And they took a city, I think, called Brunswick, Maine, over the other day, and now they got another city, Westminster. I'm not sure the names nearby in Maine also. They're moving them in. They're moving tons of them in there. They're taking over the city. They will probably be given the right to vote somehow, and they'll vote for a real law government. I mean, come on. The people in both of these communities in Maine, the mayors and the city councilmen, are telling the people to take these migrants into their houses if they can. Would you do that? You'd have to be nuts. I wouldn't do it. You gotta have a hole in your head to do that. So they go and they drain the economy, and they're putting up apartments, I understand, in these places, and they apparently have them already to some extent, and they're letting them live there for 2 years for free, no rent. Wouldn't that be nice? They get food stamps, they get a cash stipend, they get Medicaid, they get all kinds of benefits. They go to school for free. Then their kids get the free school breakfast, the free school lunch. They stay in daycare after school for free with the snacks. And then they come home and they eat whatever they're going to get. Maybe they're going to get Kentucky Fried Pizza, or maybe they're going to get some real meal. I don't have any idea. I don't know. But it's troubling to people. Migrants who come from 3 or 4 countries. I hear a noise. Hold on, I think I hear water. No, it's not water. I'll be back in a second. I don't know what I'm hearing. idea. It's not the charger. I'm gonna go outside the room, see what I'm listening to. What is this going on? Oh, it's the fan outside. I'll be right back. So you hear all this stuff on the news about Ukraine and Russia and China and all of this stuff, but I'm going to make myself a tomato juice. So you don't hear anything about the sleeper agents anymore. But did they go away? No. Are they still coming in? You bet. Lots of them. They're getting flown in to different cities in America. It's rather distressing, but the people are not understanding what is really going on, and they're not doing anything about it except for very few people are running around saying, well, you know, we need to get the information out, it helps. Well, how the heck does it help? They don't do anything about it. Just getting information out doesn't do anything. Nobody's taking action. You know, people are prepping, and that's not going to help them. Because when you read Jeremiah 50:51, it says, God says he's going to kindle fires in and about their cities, in America, plural. So it's going to happen by fire. And instead of accumulating fire extinguishers, not that that would help, but they're accumulating guns and bullets, and I don't know, are you going to be able to shoot a fire? So they don't do that. They're not doing the right thing. And they don't have a clue. They read the Bible. Many of them like Israel. Many of them hate Israel. It varies. Some go to church. Some don't. Some read the Bible and don't go to church. Some go to church and don't read the Bible. It's all over the place, you know. And I imagine they're going to probably kill a bunch of sleeper agents when the time comes, but I could be wrong. Because it says they'll be too scared to fight. You know, if 5 or 6 migrants come to take your house over, you're going to shoot. Especially if you got 2 or 3 shooters in the house. But if 70 or 80 come, or 200 or 300, you're going to start shooting? They'll put so many rounds in your house, you won't know what hit you. They'll tell you to come out with your hands up. If you don't come out, they'll shoot at the house, and then if you're still alive, they'll burn it. These people are dangerous. They have military experience and training, and they're probably led by intel agents. Biden's got a very, very, very hidden agenda, guys. Oh, Biden. Very hidden agenda. Very hidden consulary. But what's going on with Israel? This is very interesting, and it's putting more demerits from heaven, let's say, against America. So we've been devastatingly attacking Lebanon. Yesterday, or actually it's about 36 hours ago, I think it was at night, we destroyed the entire Hezbollah intelligence command network. Yes, I know it's an oxymoron to say Hezbollah intelligence. I mean, that's pretty stupid. But anyway, I think 60 got killed. We hit several buildings and structures. We basically completely dismembered, dismantled, and destroyed the entire Hezbollah intelligence network. And right now it's been perhaps 18 hours since we had any type of an attack from Hezbollah. Their communications are gone. They're afraid to use any battery-powered wireless device. And their what do we think their intelligence center did? What do I think? I think they came up with target packages for Hezbollah to hit in Israel. And they were coordinating by having the soldiers set up missile launches discreetly where they wouldn't be seen setting up missile launchers. And they would give them a time, like, at 8:07 on the dot, you're going to launch. And they would do that maybe a couple hours before, and they'd go and get ready and hope the Israeli planes didn't find them in the drones and get the launch off. And once they got the launch off, they'd have to run away. And we would destroy the missile launcher and any other equipment in the vicinity. And it would come fast, but I'm sure they could run away. But that's sacrificing missile launches, but that was their only option. So I think they were coordinating what America and Israel drones and reconnaissance aircraft are doing. And, they put pieces together to make it work. They're no longer around. So the attacks have stopped. As I've told you repeatedly, Nasrallah has gone insane. Iran is telling them this is not the right time to push a big attack. Iran is not going to come help Hezbollah. You need to understand why. There's a collective of, we'll call it the axis of evil, but they're all evil. But at the top tier is China and Russia. They make things, they manufacture, they do things. They have a real army with an air force, a navy, an armor. They're not a bunch of terrorists with Kalashnikovs and basement-made missiles. They're serious, okay? They need to be preserved. The second tier down is North Korea, whose job is to take out South Korea when the time comes, like Hezbollah wanted to do with Israel. And that's their only job. They're not of that much value to the axis of evil, but they're worth something. They'll also fight against Japan. And, okay, then comes Iran. Now, BRICS is basically run by China and Russia. Iran's in BRICS. Russia's in BRICS. The UAE is in BRICS. Russia and Iran are two massive sellers of energy, oil and natural gas, plus other things, minerals, whatever, right? Metals. And it's essential to keep BRICS going and destroy the US dollar and beat the sanctions is to have Iran and Russia intact selling their energy, beating the sanctions. India and China want to buy this energy because they need a ton of it and they don't have their own. Okay? But if you get rid of Iran and Russia, the UAE doesn't have enough oil and stuff to be that significant. If you get rid of Iran and Russia, basically BRICS is going to crumble. And it seems that Biden wants to get rid of them. I could be wrong, but it seems like he wants to get rid of them. So their meeting is scheduled, BRICS is scheduled October 22nd to the 24th, not much time. And they're going to introduce their BRICS pay system at that time. So America would like to see that not happen, because the wealthy people in America, the Satan servants that own the real estate and the businesses, the industry, operate the governments and so forth, like being rich. If BRICS goes down with this pay system, digital currency type thing, they're going to have a lot of trouble being rich, because the dollar is going to probably quickly go down 40-50% in value, and ultimately probably go down, to where it's only worth 25-30% of what it used to be. And that means their assets have devalued, their cash reserves is devalued. Oh, somebody with $300 million is still going to be wealthy, but he might be reduced to somebody like previously with $100 million. Okay? They don't like that. And that's one big reason, follow the money trail, why they don't want to see BRICS. And the two problems in BRICS, really, for them, are Iran and Russia. If the other countries want to join the BRICS and buy and sell things using alternative currencies, it's a pain in the neck to America. It's going to cause some, ripples in the value of the dollar, but that's all it's going to be. If Iran is free to sell all the energy it wants to, and Russia can sell all the energy they want to, and take the BRICS currency only, Saudi Arabia is already playing ball with them. Saudi, weeks ago, said they're no longer, past tense, no longer accepting euros or dollars for oil. Okay? So Saudi Arabia is already pulled into the fold. When they'll bring it into BRICS, I don't know. Okay? And, very quickly, Iran and Russia will put the arm on Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Jordan, to go into BRICS and trade oil not on US dollar or euro. So you know, when I say, oh, Biden, you know who I'm referencing, and he is a rather confused person that doesn't really have. He starts on a path like this and goes here, and then goes here, and then goes here, here. He's all over the place. He doesn't have a clear, steady mind. Okay. So we know from Jeremiah 49 that Elam will be destroyed, and Elam is composed of Iran, Iraq, and Syria. And Iraq and Syria are proxies of Iran. Okay. So Iran runs the vast majority of the troublemakers of the world. Okay. There's Iran itself, there's Gaza, there's Hezbollah, there's the Houthis in Yemen, right? And there's Iraq and there's Syria. Okay? That's what they run. The only other Muslim nations that are known to be troublemakers is like Afghanistan, who's been quiet for years. Azerbaijan and Armenia, which aren't doing much of anything. Oman, doesn't do anything. Jordan, they're the ones. The Iranian proxies are your problem children. So the latest thing is Macron and Biden are coming out. We want a ceasefire, a 3-week ceasefire with Hezbollah. Now, I heard people say that it was not going to be with Hezbollah, it's going to be with the Lebanon government proper, but I don't think so. Because every press announcement from the Americans is saying Hezbollah in Israel, Hezbollah in Israel. Now, the Biden administration has failed to, after about probably 9 or 10 months of working on it, they failed to produce any sort of ceasefire with Gaza, with Hamas. What they want Hezbollah to do is move behind the Litani River, which is 17 to 18 miles from the Israeli border. The river moves around, so that's why the distance can be a little bit different, right? Now, I don't think Hezbollah will agree to this. And if they do, I want to let you in on a secret that's pretty wide known in Israel. Most foreigners don't think it out. Hezbollah has demonstrated they have missiles that can go up to 50, 60 miles. So if they're north of Litani River, let's say they got a 50 mile, or use 50 miles, okay, a 50-mile missile, so then you got to take off 17, or let's even take off 18 miles. So you got 32 miles inside Israel. That should get them to Haifa and other places. It's pretty bad. Okay? So the 17-mile buffer zone was created around 2006 from the previous Lebanese war. They didn't have but Katyushas then that would go maybe 8 or 12 miles, so it was effective enough. But let me tell you what Hezbollah did, and you're not going to hear this very often in any of the media. Hezbollah took their soldiers and they went and purchased houses in South Lebanon. I would expect the houses were financially assisted purchases. Okay. So the Hezbollah didn't just move to South Lebanon. They went with their families, wives and children, bought houses in South Lebanon and moved in. To kind of create confusion, human shield, various things, they went ahead and put missiles inside their houses, up in the attic or something like that, right? So each house would hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missiles, something like that, maybe 6 or 7, I don't know, a few missiles, right? So now we know this. We have good intelligence operatives, so we know who they are, where they live, and we're attacking their houses. And we're blowing the houses up. What does that accomplish? Well, it accomplishes that Hezbollah and their families no longer have a house to live in, which is worth something, but not that much. And more importantly, a lot of these weapons, especially longer range missiles, are being destroyed. So we, did, I think, the first 3 days better than 2,000 attacks. So we got a lot of their missiles. Our causing the explosions in the communication devices, the pagers, walkie-talkies, cell phones, etc., radios. Made Hezbollah disjointed. We created, just with the pager and walkie-talkie type attacks, 5,000 casualties, and now they're down to something like 1,700 in the hospitals. There's been several hundred dead, 500 blinded. These were Hezbollah. At least 95%, probably 98% were Hezbollah, and many of these characters are unable to continue to become a soldier and fight. Their wounds were too severe. They're finished with military service, and a lot of them are in what you would call the ICU, critical care. And when you have a lot of war victims in critical care, it's pretty reasonable to expect that over time some will die. I'm not trying to appear macabre to you, it's just that's how these things go. Especially when you're dealing with a Lebanese healthcare system, and they were financially busted out country, and they don't have a really up to snuff healthcare system, although they do have 100 hospitals. All right, let me check the live stream to see if I'm getting any questions. No, they didn't. They did not sacrifice the heifer yet. There's no heifer sacrifice yet. They didn't create the water, nothing like that. No. Why you do me like that, OG? I don't know what you're talking about. Just take your post down. I don't know what it's saying. They could waltz through Canada, sure they could, but I think Trudeau would throw the doors wide open and feed them. Okay. I came across something I just want to share with you about Starlink communications with Elon Musk. Starlink is in Israel. Okay. So Elon Musk is also coming out with a phone called the Pi phone, Pi. It's a mathematical term. And the back of the phone is a solar panel. So if you leave the back of the phone in the sun, it'll charge the phone. And his Pi phone does contact Starlinks, so-called satellites, what he calls them. And you can get internet. So I was thinking that this would be nice. The phone itself is going to sell in Israel for circa $700 when it gets here, which could be very quickly. And it's feature laden. It's supposed to be a great phone. And Android, it's on Android. And the device to contact Starlink is $600, although I think the phone directly contacts it. I really do. But they want to charge $150 a month here in Israel. Now it's in Israel. And it's in quite a few cities. But the closest city to me is, as a guess, 25 miles away. So I went and I gave them my address, and I asked, I think it was zip code, and I asked them, if it would work in my area, and it came back, no, not yet, sign up, or, so to be notified when it does. Now, let me ask you a question. If this device is really a satellite, how do you come across that it wouldn't work? It works 25 miles away, but wouldn't work here. That's hard to swallow. And then the phone contacts the satellite. So a little old cell phone is going to send a signal 25,000 miles up in space. How does that work? I don't think your phone would send a signal more than 2,500 feet. I don't think it's really satellites. I think he's using the balloons. Like that's what most satellite phones are working off of. Now some of you know this and probably some of you don't, but you can certainly research it if you take the time and trouble to do it. It's not hard. I did it. And there's a lot of questions about, satellites being 25,000 miles up in space, when we know in the Bible there's a firmament that keeps the water, which is on the other side of the firmament, off the earth. And, the firmament's probably something like 100,000 feet up. How the heck are you going to break through it? And if you did, you would be opening the floodgates of the firmament, and the water would come down, and that would be a rather bad thing. I spilled some juice. So there's a big contradiction between space theory and the Bible. It's not a little contradiction, it's massive. So you have to ask yourself, where are you going to go with this? Read Genesis 1, it describes the firmament. So, what direction do you want to be? Do you want to be with the Bible? Or do you want to be with the media and the newspapers and stuff like that? I'm going to be right back. What do you want to follow? But it certainly doesn't sound like his satellite really exists. So I was looking at using the Moshe system in case the internet goes out in Israel, which could happen. The electricity could go out from the war, and I would be able to continue broadcasting using the Starlink with the Yaffa, go. Using the Starlink with the Python. So if they ever get it set up before the war is finished, it might be something worth doing, but so far no good. It's not set up in my area, but I cannot figure out why, if he's using satellites, it works 25 miles away, but not here. Very hard to swallow. Wouldn't you think? All right. So, about 18 hours, no attacks from Hezbollah. The Biden administration with France. Now, Macron, France, has large investments in Lebanon. And, you know, there's a lot of people running around the world that don't have a brain and they can't figure out, well, if Hezbollah can shoot a rocket 50, 60 miles, what good does the 17-mile buffer zone do? The people in Israel are not going to move back. The other thing you need to understand is part of this UN mandate they're following also says Israel shall not fly into Lebanon airspace. So that means we're not supposed to do reconnaissance with a bunch of lunatics like this. So as I was telling you, Nasrallah is taking Hezbollah down the path of destruction, and I think he destroyed them. And Biden is trying to save Hezbollah. Now, when you're dealing with world leaders, and you know that Satan is the god of this age that's still going on, they're all Satanists, okay? Every single country. There's not one exception, everyone. So, we can't listen too much to what Biden says, but we can listen hard to what Biden says and what Biden does, and that gives us a pretty good indication of what's really happening. With Hamas in Gaza, he bore down incredibly hard on Israel to not destroy them. The humanitarian aid, I'm telling you, what we were going to do was occupy, and without the humanitarian aid, they wouldn't have gotten fuel for their generators to operate the tunnels. They wouldn't have had cooking fuel. They wouldn't have had water. And they wouldn't have had food. By January 1st, the war would have been over. Okay? Nope. Biden, beyond a shadow of doubt, wants that humanitarian aid. Everybody knows what happened is Hamas stole the humanitarian aid and rat-holed it so they could hold out longer if Israel cuts off the food and the water. Then Biden was screaming and yelling about civilian casualties. Yet we in Israel all saw videos when in years past, many times, Hamas would shoot missiles into Israel and kill somebody or hurt somebody. They rarely ever killed anybody. But they would, or a terrorist killed somebody in Israel, they would go out in the streets and hand out sweet candy, sweets, to the people celebrating how sweet it is a Jew got killed, or we did a rocket attack on Israel, or we did incendiary balloon attacks and burned them up. These pieces of garbage were making balloons. Like they have 10 or 15 balloons tied to a basket. They were putting teddy bears and things like that, dolls, in the basket, catching the wind, floating it into Israel, and hoping an Israeli child would see the teddy bear or the doll and go pick it up, and it was booby trapped and it would kill the child. This is who Biden's protecting. Now, Biden refuses to let Israel have a victory. Two congressmen in America recently issued a letter showing that the Biden administration is still withholding weapons from Israel. But you need to understand, when whoever was president in Israel came to, America came over to Israel and pushed us to give Gaza back, 2008, maybe, something like that. They made a treaty with Israel saying they would support us and defend us if Gaza turned into a terrorist encampment attacking us. So they gave us a treaty as a condition for us leaving Gaza for peace. Netanyahu was selling it to the Israelis, that jerk. Israelis apparently went for it. We had forced evacuation of the people living there. And the terrorists moved in, went right to work, and built it into a military base. They had 400 miles of tunnels. The concrete's 6-8 inches thick in the tunnel walls, the ceiling, and the floor. And they have thousands and thousands of steel girders that curve like this to support the roof. And they have many heavy steel blast doors to keep explosions and floods from spreading through all the tunnels. Now, I figure conservatively, using large trucks, tractor trailers, which a lot of these tunnels are big enough to accommodate, or they were, before we took them down, they sent at least 10,000 truckloads of concrete and steel girders and blast doors to make 400 miles of tunnels. Plus, they got missile building equipment, missile launchers, missiles, ammunition, weapons, anti-tank weapons, all kinds of stuff. And we're stupid enough in their minds to believe that Egypt didn't know this was going on. They're pulling tractor trailers in from Egypt. They knew very well what was going on. Part of their role in the destruction of Israel was to supply weapons and tunnel-making materials and so forth to Hamas in Gaza. And when this nincompoop Netanyahu wants to negotiate with Gaza, he goes through Egypt. And Israeli people are, I don't know how dumb they could be. If I went to America and stood out on the street and did a survey, and asked the people if they've ever been to the Indian Ocean in Indiana, most of them would say no. Some probably say yes. They don't know nothing in America. The old America 50 years ago is not the new America. Those old Americans are gone. If you go back to, let's say, 1900, the average person that graduated the 6th grade probably knows about as much of that curriculum material as the average high school graduate today in America. When I grew up, you were able to buy when I was even in the 60s, you were able to buy a used car for $100, $200 and drive it around for a year or two. I was in college, I bought a Chevy Impala convertible that was about 7 years old. I might have paid $600 for it. Nice houses were, $5,000 in America in a lot of places. Guy worked as a clerk in a store, he could afford a house and a car. Water bills, electric bills were nothing. Premium high-test gasoline, 25 cents a gallon. Regular, probably 19 cents, 20 cents. Car insurance, $50 a year. Things were cheap. You could buy a T-bone steak for about $1. Probably a pound or something like that. Woolworths used to have lunch counters. You go in there and get a cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke for probably less, with a tip, $1. Inflation has gone up so much, wages haven't. Americans don't really know what's going on, the vast majority of them. And a lot of them are on welfare. They get disability, they're overweight, they got attention deficit disorder, they're prostitutes, they're drunks, they're drug addicts. They get disability. Then they get Section 8 housing, where the government pays their rent. Actually, 95% of the rent, but they never pay the 5%. They get Medicaid. They got special clinics in these neighborhoods for people that are disabled and various other categories. They go there and get treated for free. They don't pay taxes. They get help with their utility bill. They get food stamps, they get a cash stipend. And the more kids they got, the more money they get. Why work? There's a lot of people in Section 8 that get into houses that if you went to pay yourself to rent, you might be paying $1,800, $2,000 a month. They're living there for free. In some areas, they get houses with swimming pools that meet the rent requirements. And they don't move out. They stay there for many years. The landlords like them. The first of every month, they got the rent sitting in their bank account. Electronically fund transferred in on the first of the month. They got their money. You know, they generally make precious little repairs. And they have to if something goes wrong with the house, you know. Hold on a sec, I don't know what this is. It doesn't look very important. Some kind of ad on WhatsApp. I don't think they're supposed to send ads, but they did. You know, the military in America, they recruited a lot of kids out of the ghetto that managed to graduate high school. Nobody wanted to hire them. They got enlistment bonuses, they joined the military. They got a life. They got trained. They became an electrician, a mechanic, a tank driver, a truck driver, a cook, a medical corpsman, a pharmacist assistant, all kinds of things. And the military would continue training them and educating them, paying for their education, if they were worthwhile. And these people are the furthest thing from a patriot you could imagine. They went in the military for selfish reasons, to better themselves, which they did. But this is not the patriot that's going to go fight for his country. They're not into that. That sort of defeats the whole purpose of going into the military. The military was about what the military could do for them. So they work on air bases, they're in the Army, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the Navy. They go out on ships. They get stationed overseas. Well, where they live, it's not hot and it's not cold. They got all the medical they need. They eat good, probably better than a lot of people. So without having to pay for food, and without having to pay for rent or medical, it's easy to save money, isn't it? Well, then they could buy a car. Then comes re-enlistment. They get several $1,000s to re-enlist. They re-enlist. Now they're older. They got a higher ranking. They got more money. They find a guy or a gal and they get married. Now they could live off base in a nice townhouse and have cars and buy clothes and do things, and they get 30 days vacation. They could go places, you know. Then you tell these people that they're going to go out to sea and they're going to start hearing about Navy ships getting blown up by Russian and Chinese missiles and the crew dying, and let's see if they abandon ship and go AWOL. They will. They're not in it. They're not in it to be patriots. They're in it for what they can get out of it. And that does not build the military. It doesn't work. So, is Biden going to be able to pull off a peace treaty with Hezbollah? I don't think Hezbollah will even talk to him, but I don't know for sure. You know, I just don't understand. What Netanyahu is bad enough to do is get with Biden, have a peace treaty with Nasrallah or Hezbollah. He moves back 17 miles, which I doubt. And then Netanyahu goes and tells the people of Israel, you can return home. But they can't, because their missiles go further than 17 miles. And Netanyahu knows it. He doesn't care. He's not our friend. He's working his own agenda. But let's see if Hezbollah goes for it. Iran's afraid to come into the fight for Hezbollah. The IRGC, the Iranian soldiers in Syria, have been destroying their communication devices that are wireless with a battery because they're afraid Israel will blow them up. So if that's the IRGC troops, which are the Iranian troops, then Iran has the same fear in Iran. So they don't want to get into a war with Israel and then find out Israel has the capability of blowing up their communications equipment and they're in deep doo-doo. They have no interest in that. Why would they? Would you? When Iran lost Hamas, it lost it, but it didn't lose it. What's trying to be worked out with the help of Biden is that Hamas remains in Gaza, no Israeli troops, they give the hostages back, which they're afraid to do, and Israel completely leaves Gaza, and Hamas runs the government again, builds up their military, and comes back in probably a few months, and tries to kill the Jews in Israel again. That's Biden's policy as evidenced by his actions. Period. Okay? His end goal with October 7th is to get Iran. Okay? Because Iran wants to control the Middle East oil. They want to scare and put the arm on Oman, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, and get them to do what Iran wants to do, which would be, okay, guys, this month we're going to cut back oil production 10%. So the price of oil in America goes up, you know, what? $15, $20 a barrel. The next month they cut it another 10%, another $15, $20 a barrel. Then another 10%. And pretty soon you're paying double, at least double for your car gas and your home heating oil. How are you going to heat your house this winter if you got to pay double? How are a lot of people going to function if they got to pay, $5.50, $6 a gallon? What if they get it up to $9 a gallon? There's a point where people won't be able to afford going to work. They'll have to carpool or find another way to get there. You can't carpool with your home heating oil. So people are going to be walking around in the winter with the thermostat set, what? At 60, 55, 58, and walking around with hats and, heavy sweaters, down jackets in the house. That's these idiots that have been running America. So Biden wants Hamas to stay in charge in Gaza and kill again another day. And that's exactly what he's doing in Hezbollah. He's sitting there and he's saying, oh my gosh, Satan's going to have my head if I let Israel move into Lebanon and occupy it. What the heck's going to happen to me? Satan will stick me with his pitchfork or something. So he starts with a ceasefire, which is basically, let's stop Israel before they destroy Hezbollah and occupy a buffer zone in Lebanon. And that means they're fulfilling prophecy and getting land back. So in the last hours, Hezbollah has not been attacking us, which I would attribute to an inability to attack, because in spite of losing all his commanders and losing his 4 Islamic priest ministers for the Hezbollah, he also lost his whole intelligence apparatus. So it seems that Hezbollah caved in. That's what it looks like. We've been attacking him, blowing up these villages. Remember, Hezbollah moved their soldiers with their families to the south of Lebanon after the 2006 war. They bought houses. They moved in. They've got multiple children in these houses, grandparents in the houses, and so forth. And stored weapons and various missiles in the houses. Using their families to create the human shield. So Israel is telling people, if you're near a house where Hezbollah is or they have weapons stored there, get far away. So I think Israel might have the thought that if they blow up all these houses we know Hezbollah to be in, then we will have not just crippled Hezbollah, it'll be harder for them to move back to south of the Litani River. That's an interesting idea. He did that with Gaza. Gaza is so busted up, probably 85% at least, of the homes are damaged or destroyed. And when they're damaged, you generally can't live in them. They're a risky thing to live in. And also stores, government buildings, malls, streets, water lines, sewer line, everything. Gaza is a wasteland. It's a wasteland. They're still hanging on there. So, in a way, doing that to Hezbollah, we're also attacking houses in suburbs of Beirut. You see, to make this work, we really got to go to at least take Lebanon up to Beirut. That would probably reduce the range of the missiles enough where they couldn't reach past the communities on the border with Lebanon. Let me get some mileage on this. Beirut to Israel border. I guess that would be what we're looking for. No, that's by road. I gotta get it by air. One 147 miles. Now, I don't know if we need to go that far. I think we need to go about 60 miles. But that's not even on the table. 17 miles stops Katyusha rockets, which is the vast majority of the Hezbollah inventory of missiles. And they go 8 to 11 or 12 miles, so they couldn't hit the border. But if they wanted to stop launching serious missiles, they could. And Netanyahu's going to expect us to sign something like that. Why? Because Biden wants it. Who the heck is Biden when it comes to Israel anyway? You know what Israel should do when Biden talks like withholding the weapons? This is real. I'm going to tell you what they did. Some of you won't like this, but they should call China up and say, hey, we'd like to invite you over here for some talks. We're thinking it would be advantageous for us to, do joint ventures with you where you help finance some businesses and, we could do tax treaties between the countries, tax-free, and maybe you would like to set up a navy and an air base on the Mediterranean Sea in Israel, and we could make that happen for you. And China will go, what do you want? What do you want? We'll say, well, we want to be friends with you. America's stabbing us in the back. We want you to support us when we kill Hamas and Hezbollah. And I want to tell you something about China. They hate Muslims in China because they see them as a threat to the communists. Ramadan, which is the bloodiest holiday in Islam, historically with the most terrorist attacks, is illegal in China. It's illegal. Yeah. And then when Biden gets wind of what Israel's doing, Biden will croak if that happens. What if Israel calls Russia up and says, Biden's been stabbing us in the back, and we know you're not a Muslim majority country, and you know that we want to wipe out all our enemies whenever they raise arms against us. We want to annihilate them, and we think we could work with you because you certainly understand that. So how about we start by giving you some iron domes and David slings and arrow twos that you can use to defend your country. Netanyahu would turn around and say, how long will it take you to come to the Kremlin? I got to set up a big feast in your honor. When are you coming? That's how Israel should deal with Biden. Okay? The last thing in the world, okay, let me play this out for you. What would happen like that? Well, Israel would occupy Gaza, we'd move back in, beachfront houses, right? We would move in all through Lebanon. We'd have a little bit of oil from Lebanon, right? Okay? Syria starts up with us, boom, we got the Syrian oil, Jordan oil. Okay? And we just make sure that China stays well oiled. That's all. And then we're free to take out our enemies. Because China and Russia are no friends of the Islamic people. And then that's it. But Netanyahu, the rat, won't do it. You never hear anybody talk about what I told you. One of two things would happen. We'd either go to China and do it, or China would we would do it, or Biden would croak. He'd say, my gosh, the Jews are hooking up with Iran and China and Russia. They're going to take the Middle East over. Israel's going to wind up having all their oil they need. They'll be selling gas at the pump for 25 cents, for crying out loud. Not that many years ago, Venezuela used to sell oil at the pump for 25 cents. It was more than 10 years ago, but not that far back. So 50 cents, you know. Some people say, oh, China and Russia will turn on us. You know, that's being said as if America hasn't already turned on us. They're still withholding weapons. What kind of moron ally do we have here? Israel should walk away from America. Approach the enemies of America. And then see if Biden starts listening to Israel a little bit more carefully. He probably wouldn't. America's finished. Okay? Now, let's try to establish how much longer we have till the world has changed forever. Now, I can't give you the day of the hour. I can't give you any exact, precise, highly specific timetable. Let's see what's up here in the chat. People in Israel say Shabbat Shalom starting on Thursday. Shabbat starts Friday evening, but they start saying it on Thursday. If they're not going to see you on Friday, they'll tell it to you on Thursday. That's not biblical. It's not anti-biblical. It's just tradition in Israel. I put the shades on because it helps me with the glare. They're polarized, and it takes the strain off my eyes from being on the screen so much. It sure seemed to offend you. Well, Yeshua is king, nothing else matters. Of course, I would have to agree with that to a great extent, but Yeshua in numerous occasions in the Bible said, watch, lift up your head, your redemption draweth nigh. We're supposed to watch, and that's what I'm doing here. Okay? giving you the things you should be watching for, tying them to Bible prophecy. That's what Yeshua also told us to do. So the ultra-Orthodox don't pay attention, well, the Orthodox and the ultra-Orthodox frequently don't pay attention to the news. What they'll tell you is, don't you worry, Jehovah's, they won't say Jehovah, they say Hashem, the name. Very wrong to say that. They're blotting out God's name, but they don't know it. And they'll say, you know, Hashem's going to take care of Israel, forget about it, don't worry about it, don't watch the news, a lot of it is just lies. They don't follow it. That's the way cults work. All right, so let me tell you what is going on here with end times that I've never seen any of the churches teach, and you shouldn't, and I'm going to show it to you in your Bible, and you shouldn't bother with these churches if they don't teach you that, because they're giving you not the truth. They're concealing things from you, okay? And the churches are going to be gone very shortly. Okay. Now, don't discount that for several days now, we've been doing spiritual warfare against Nasrallah and Hezbollah, plus other organizations like Iran, Hamas. Hamas has been rather quiet. They did do a little bit yesterday or something, not much. And Hezbollah just quit fighting. So we separated them from the unclean spirits with spiritual warfare, based on Luke 10. The demons are subject to you, and you shall tread on all the power of the enemy. So we stopped their witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments, and we throw the demons out of them. Tell the demons they can't go back in them for a period of time that we specified. And we tell them the demons cannot appear to the leaders, communicate with them, help them, guide them, lead them, direct them in any way, shape, or form. And that is likely what's happened to our friend Nasrallah. See, being a world leader and not having a demon is like being a taxi cab driver without a taxi. Think about that. Okay, so there's a thing in the Bible that I'm going to show you called Year of Recompenses. There's another thing called Year of Redemption. Okay? There's another thing called Day of Vengeance, which is not the great day of the Lord. The Day of Vengeance is when the daughter of Babylon gets it, the surrounding nations laying siege to Israel get it, and the rest of his enemies get it. Now, some of the things that are going to happen on the Day of Vengeance, you're seeing the build-up to now, but because the churches won't teach you this, you don't quite understand it, but we do, and we explain it. Jeremiah 30, verse 1, and I'll give you the whole build-up. The word that came to Jeremiah from Jehovah, saying, Thus speaketh Jehovah Elohim of Israel, Jehovah God of Israel, saying, Write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. So if you're a believer in Yeshua, and Jehovah is the God of Israel, who's the father of Yeshua, are you not in Israel if you're a believer? Of course you are. How could you not be? That's why it says all Israel shall be saved. Verse 3, For lo, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah. That's not fully happened yet, because Israel, the 10 tribes, is still lost. And most of Judah too is not here. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Jehovah spake We would say spoke, that Jehovah spoke concerning Israel and concerning Judah. You don't have to say spake because it's in King James. That's not the real language that it was originally done in. You know, that's their translation. We don't say spake. Spoke. Did you see him and talk to him? Yeah, I spake to him. No, you'd say, yeah, I spoke to him. Okay. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear and not of peace. Well, we could throw the window out, throw out the window of the church theory, the man of sin is going to come and speak peace and get a 7-year covenant. Okay, I'll read that again to you. We have heard a voice of trembling, of fear and not of peace. Got it? That's what's going to happen. Ask you, and that's what's going on now. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Doesn't sound like peace and safety to man in sin with the covenant, does it? Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it, except it doesn't say, none is like it, even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Jacob's trouble. And he's saved out of it. That's Zechariah 12. Now let's keep going. Zechariah 12 is the nations lay siege. They surround Israel and Judah, but they don't actually invade. And then in Zechariah 12, verse 6, the two witnesses burn them up on the right hand and the left. Yeah, and that could happen any day, and the churches aren't teaching you Zechariah 12, 6. Because they don't want to see the two witnesses. They're afraid of them. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of armies, that I will break the yoke from off thy neck and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. Okay. But they shall serve Jehovah Elohim and David the king, whom I will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for I will save thee from afar. And the word for save is Yasha, which means salvation you, not just save in a military sense, salvation you. Yeshua's name is Yahshua. Yash is the root, it means salvation. His name would mean giver of salvation, or provider of, or salvation flows forth from, something like that. Hebrew doesn't go into English very well. From the land of their captivity. So it's, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Yaakov shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Now listen to this. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee. Again, that word is Yasha, to salvation you. though I make a full end of all heathen nations that I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Okay, all the nations he scattered Israel into over the centuries is about 125. All of Europe, often North, South, Central America, much of the Middle East, Northern Africa, Caribbean islands, America, Central America, South America, parts of Asia. It's about 125 countries he's going to make an end of. I make a full end of all nations, all heathen nations, Goyim, whither I have scattered thee. They're all going to be gone. And that's what you're seeing going on, and that's why Russia and Ukraine has no winner. That's why you're seeing wars ready to pop up all over the place, because they will. Okay, they don't teach Jeremiah 30, verse 11. Why? Ask yourself. Now, let's go to Isaiah 34, verse 8. This will be quick and you'll understand some stuff, okay? That you could use to interpret prophecy today. That'll actually be useful. Now, Isaiah 34 starts out like this in verse 1. Come near, you nations, to hear, and hearken, you people. Let the earth hear, all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth out of it. For the anger of Jehovah is upon all nations. Well, we just read that in Jeremiah 30, verse 11. Why don't they talk about that? And why don't the goofy preachers that call themselves Christians on the internet talk about it? Because they're all tied together with the dark side. And his fury upon all their armies, he has utterly destroyed them. All the nations' armies will be destroyed. Unless the Bible's wrong. You think the Bible's wrong? I can't help you. The Bible's always right. And that's what you're seeing brewing right now. There's going to be no winners except Jehovah and Israel. And if you're a believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel, and you will be physically here. And you will become as the native born in Israel and get an equal inheritance of the land, just like an Israelite. And you and your kids and your grandkids and great-grandkids and all that will be members of that tribe, and you will have the land for free in that tribe. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to slaughter. The armies, they're all going to be gone. That is when the swords are beat into plowshares and the spears into pruning hooks. It's coming very quickly. It's not Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog is down the road quite a piece. Their slain also shall be cast out, and this thing shall come up. Okay, let's just, now you know the subject content, let's go down to Isaiah 34:8. For it, should I go on? All right, let's go Isaiah 34:8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses, for the controversy of Zion, for the strife, for the fighting over Zion. They don't want Israel to be a country. Isn't that obvious? Biden doesn't. None of them do. The whole UN doesn't want us to be a country. Because they're afraid that Jehovah's going to set up Israel to be the head of the nations under him. And they're much happier being under Satan. They like the evil. They like the lifestyle. They like the lying and everything. They like it. It is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses. Recompenses is payback, I would say, in a negative way. They're reaping what they sow. Because of the controversy of Israel, they don't want to see in Israel. They don't want God to be the head of the nations to Israel. They don't want it. Well, sorry, God's in control, not you. The day of vengeance is in the year of recompenses. They're associated together. That's when this Zechariah 12 happens, on the day of vengeance, which is probably the same day So if somebody's not teaching you the day of vengeance and the year of recompenses, they're teaching you immature, stupid, erroneous prophecy. Isaiah 63. We picked this up in verse verse 4. Isaiah 63, 4. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Okay, so now we see the day of vengeance is associated with the year of recompenses, the year of the redeemed. What happens in the year of redemption? Every man gets reunited with his family, and you get your inheritance back, your land, your house. So they come on the second Exodus. They're going to get a piece of land for free, them and their families, and they're going to be reunited, and they're going to be reunited with the tribe they've just joined, and all of that. Now, the day of vengeance is associated with the year of redemption also. So the only really good way to explain this is that since it's associated with year of recompenses and year of redemption, I would say the last day of recompenses and the first day of redemption overlap. So the last day of recompenses is the first day of redemption. Now the overlap could be perhaps for more than one day, but that's how I see it. That's how it could be in both of them. Now the word for year is not a literal calendar year. It's Shana is the literal calendar year for the Bible calendar. Shanim is years in the plural. This is Shanat, which is not a highly specific period. You shall select a lamb from the first year. That word is Shanat, not Shanai. Shanai. So you get the lamb, let's say you can get him at 13 months, 15 months, 19 months. It would still be within the first year. Or if you're going to tell me, no, it means he's less than a year. No, I don't think so. Because then you would be able to separate the baby lamb from its mother and cause such aggravation and heartache to the mother. It would be cruel. Like at the first month. No, you don't do that. Okay, so I think it would start in like month 13 that the lamb's been alive and go through 24. It would all be within the first year. Once you get past the 24, then it's in its second year. That's how I'm interpreting it anyway. So, but it's not an exact date, so it could swap over from 12 months into extra months. If it couldn't, then it would have said Shana, and then we would have been able to more accurately determine the day and the hour of the appearing. I'm speaking of the appearing, not the return to earth. Okay? Now, where we get into something that gets us into the challenging prophecy interpretation is Isaiah 61:1, which is also in the New Testament. It says, Hearken to hearken to me, you that follow after righteousness. You that seek Jehovah, look unto the rock whence you are hewn, and to the hole of the pit. I'm in the wrong chapter. I was in 51. I got to be in 61. Sorry. The spirit of Adonai Jehovah is upon me, because Jehovah hath anointed me, and the word for anointed is Mashiach, and that's the Messiah word. It means anointed. Christos and Christ, it's the same word in different languages meaning anointed. Okay, because Jehovah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, and to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. That's the dry bones of Ezekiel 37, but we're going to move forward. Isaiah 61, verse 2. To proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. Well, what is the acceptable year? We need to learn this. It's Ratzon, the pleasurable year. Let's see how Strong's throws this into English. Good, pleasurable year of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. Well, that appears in Zechariah 12, starting in verse 11. To give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Jehovah, that he might be glorified. So in verse 2 of 61 Isaiah, it says to proclaim the acceptable year, the pleasurable year. This is the Jubilee year, or called the Yovel in Hebrew. That's the one every 50 years. And the word Yovel means your inheritance, I believe. And it says the acceptable year, and that word is, I believe, Shanat as well. I gotta look at that in the Hebrew. Give me a second. That's 61 verse 2. Okay. So the acceptable year, and I need to get into the Hebrew. Verse 2. Shanat. Okay, so the acceptable year is not a literal calendar year, but the year of redemption would, I'm sorry, the Jubilee year, I believe, is a literal year, but we could check that too. What's the one? Jubilee. Let's look up Jubilee and see what is used for year. Oh, gosh, this stupid thing doesn't. All right, I gotta use the internet for this. What the heck is going on? This wants me to do facial recognition. What the heck? I just upgraded my, no, it doesn't want me to do that. I can't get back where I was. What the heck? There's so anything idiotic like this. I just did this like 2 days ago. I don't understand, I'll have to change it. Alright, I don't think anybody really has a good handle on the cycles of the years with the Jubilee year and the Shemitah years every 7 years. I don't think they have a handle. Come on. I had to put the word verses in, maybe that'll give me the verse I'm looking for so I can look up the Hebrew. Leviticus 25:10. And you shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land, Haaretz, land of Israel, unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and the word for jubilee is Yovel, which is the these other. Okay, so it shall be a Yovel in the Hebrew unto you, and you shall return every man unto his possession. So your possession truly is not in England or America, it's in Israel. And you get your land back. And those that are squatting on our land, which is about 100 times bigger than what we have now, are not going to be on our land anymore. And that's part of the controversy of Zion, of course. And you shall return every man unto his family. That means you're reunited with your family. Your family as a member of Israel goes back many, 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 many generations. Okay, so. All right, that's the Jubilee year. Gee, I wish I could get out of this. Let me see. I never saw a stupid thing like this before. Oh, no, I had a cancel button, but it didn't work. It keeps me in the app library. Let me see if I can. I don't know how to get out of it. It's too annoying. Let me reboot. They do a lot of new things when they upgrade your operating system, security and whatnot. But they do things that you don't want to happen, like what just happened. I don't want that to happen. I want the old system where I know where all the icons are for my app, But no, They keep thinking they're making it better with these improvements they do, but they make things more. Yeah, now it's back. They make things more, or let's say less, inducive. You're not. It's not natural. You're not going to say, "Oh, I got to do this. I got to do that." It's obtuse. It's just they pulled it in out of thin air and imposed it on you. It's very stupid, but that's what they're about. Stupid. I don't know how you in America or Europe are doing, but we got horrendous packaging here with food and other things. You just about need a chainsaw and an angle grinder to get into a lot of your food packages now. It's so stupid. So last year on October 10th, the Lord told me he said we're in recompenses, I believe were the words he used. Well, this is recompenses, I think was it more accurately. He didn't use the word year. I assumed it was a year. I assumed it was 12 months. Then as the 12 months approached, he illuminated me the fact that it's the Shanat. So it could be extra months. Not just 12, it might be, 15, 18, 19, whatever, right? It wouldn't be 20, it's not going to go that high. It can't go into the second year. So, then I've been really thinking about this acceptable year, which is a year of redemption. Now, I don't know if we have a Jubilee year or not, but we probably do, but I can't guarantee it. Why would God talk about it in 3 places? Okay. And in one of the places called the acceptable year. Okay. The acceptable year is a redemption, is a Jubilee year. If it was just redemption, he would have said that, but he's tying the year of redemption to the Jubilee year, I believe. So when would the Jubilee year be? It would be February 15th to the 25th. There's a rough cut someplace in there, depending on the calendar. We never know the day the year is going to start. Because we have to call the beginning of the month by the spotting of the new moon sliver, but we can get it within a day or 2 or 3, but that's not the day or the hour for sure. And the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man and all that may not happen on the first day. Maybe it goes into Passover or something, which is like 14 days into the new year or something like that. I don't know. I'm not saying, on the 27th of September in the, 23rd year of Netanyahu, the Lord came to me and gave me this word of the Lord. I'm not saying that, not at all. I'm saying it's a theory I'm working with, and I think it's a good theory, but I could be wrong. Because you can't get the day of the hour. Nobody's going to get it right. Nobody. Yeshua said even he doesn't know. So nobody's going to ever get this right, but it could be something like what I'm telling you now. I'm trying to open you up to it. Because I keep getting nagged about this, like, why is it there if it's not pertaining to the Jubilee year? Why would it be there? I don't have any explanation for why he would be using the words except the blue year. So it might take until then. I don't know. And when the year rotates, it doesn't mean it's going to happen right then and there. It may take till Passover. Maybe it takes to beyond Passover. I don't know. So I made a good point of explaining to you I'm not sure, but I'm starting to say there's something to this. So that's not good news for many of us, self-included, because it means we got to put up with what's going on in the world for some more months. Let's see, for 5 months, 5.5 months or something. No, it would be 4.5 months, about 4.5 months. But I know it's hard for everybody. It really is. It's hard. I don't know why this happened, but I should share it with you. The baby bird that was damaged by the breeder that came to a vet and came here for rescue, didn't make it. It was a really cute, nice bird. Cockatoo. It's a shame. Stinking breeder did it. They microwave their food when they're stoned or drunk or half asleep or something. And usually birds don't eat during the night, so they did something wrong. And he gave the bird the food. This is a common thing. Too hot, it burned a hole in its breastplate. And then the food was leaking out. And my wife kept trying to feed it every hour and hold the breastplate closed with her fingers so the food would get in the digestive tract past that, and the bird would have energy, and it was working. But something went wrong again, and the bird went back to the vet, and the vet said, "This has had 5 operations. I'm putting it down. I'm not going to do another operation. It's too cruel." The bird with the broken wing, the vet wasn't home that much, had a problem, came back, went to operate on the bird with the broken wing, opened up the bird's wing and saw all this brown, red, coagulated blood. Died. The soldier, we've been praying for the leg, that the leg wouldn't be removed. Well, sometime today they're going to remove the leg. We could keep praying. I don't know why we're getting all this at once. These birds were not my birds or my wife's birds. So maybe the Lord's just giving us the healings for the pets and the people that belong to us. See, the bird would eventually go back to the breeder, and the broken wing bird would eventually go back to its owner. And we don't know what happened, so I don't know what to tell you, but it's kind of ironic that 3 of them we've been praying for just all didn't work out at about the same time. I don't know why. I'm trying to figure it out. So pray we get a good answer from that, on that. And we do have some prayer requests. And I think these are mostly for our people. So if I'm going to glean something, maybe praying for strangers and people not in the family of God isn't going to have a lot of favorable outcomes in the future. I don't know. Okay, we got a tourist request for VM, Victor Mike, tourist request, spiritual warfare for Victor Mike, VM. Prayer request for JG, Jack Girl. Prayer request for JG, Jack Girl, JG. Pray gets a good job without having to work on the Sabbath. For JG, pray that gets a good job not having to work on the Sabbath. And MF, Mike Foxtrot, MF, Mike Foxtrot. Pray for healing and pain relief from pain. This person's in acute pain. So pray for healing and relief from pain for MF. And we have PC, Papa Charlie, PC. Papa Charlie coming back and needs more prayer for healing and pain relief. Papa Charlie, healing and pain relief. PC, healing and pain relief. Okay, that's it. All right. I think I covered what I want to cover today. I'm going to check the chat, see if I got any questions. I think I covered what I want. Let me see if we got any questions that I didn't deal with. Alright, somebody told me my name was some demonic name and I'm brainwashing you. Well, do I believe in Yeshua? You gotta be kidding me. Of course I do. Okay, so my name's Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing, and pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. And pray for our finances. Pray for better videos. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for that soldier with the wounded leg that they plan on amputating it today. Keep praying that the leg doesn't get amputated and there's a recovery or a healing. This person's mental state is also in jeopardy. Now, another prayer for someone, we'll use the initials S, just the initial S, as in Sam, S as in Sam. Pray, can return to Israel from Europe quickly, had some flight canceled. So pray that S can return from Europe to Israel quickly. And I hope you got something out of this. You can go through my videos on the YouTube channel, which appear in the live section. And a lot of them have good Bible studies that I think you'll like, and you'll get the truth. You'll get what your Bible says, not just what the church people want you to hear. All right. I also run a Telegram channel, which is basically an aggregator of news from other channels that get a lot of news from Arabic and Hebrew and stuff. And I put a lot of comments in there too for myself, so you can understand what's really happening. You might want to, you know, go into the Telegram channel. It's free. The app is free. It's called Telegram Messenger. Just send me an email. My email is israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Just put the Telegram link or something like that in the subject header, and I'll email you the link, and you should be able to get in just by clicking on the invite link. So you'll get a lot of news that you're not probably not getting very much around the world, and you'll get it soon, and you'll get the commentaries and tying it to the Bible and stuff like that. These Christian Bible prophecy, Bible news, and all those kind of Bible teachers are not coming to Israel these past months, have they? No. Okay, so I send my Shabbat Shalom to all the, it's not, we'll do that tomorrow. I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to get the blow by blow when the eggs hit the fan. So far, Hezbollah's been quiet. I don't know for how long. So we'll keep you updated, and that's it, guys. Thank you.